A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Welcome everybody to week 10 Monday's class. I hope that you're all well and jazakumullah for arriving early. Now you should be thinking that we are in a mosque environment and we should be following the etiquettes of a mosque by having our wudu done, wearing clean clothing, and our head should be covered with a scarf or a hat. We would really like it if a parent could be present and if you could be in a quiet place with no background noise. Okay, let's start our class today with our Monday's dua, and if I could have a student to the mic, please.
Assalamu alaikum. G1001 has the mic.
Assalamu alaikum, G1001.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm very well, and jazakumullah for asking. Let's start with Ta'awuz and Tasmiyah.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim.
Very nice, well done. If you could follow me now. Rabbish,
Rabbish,
Rahli,
Rahli,
Sadri,
Sadri,
Wa Yassir,
Wayassir,
Li,
Li,
Amri.
Amri.
Very nice. Do you think you can read out the translation just here?
Yes. Lord, expand my mind and make my task easy for me.
Very nice.
Taha 26 to 27.
Very nicely read. And do you know what this means, Taha 26 to 27?
I think it means that it's in a chapter.
Yeah. It's this dua we just read, it's in chapter Taha, which is one of the 114 chapters in the Holy Quran. And in the chapter Taha, this dua is in verse 26 to 27. That's very nicely read, G1001. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.
Okay, let's straight move on to our today's lesson. Our today's lesson is lesson 22. And it's miscellaneous rules, but basically what we will be doing is alif zaida, which you did last week as well. So I will quickly read out this paragraph and explain it to you, and then we will carry on doing exercise 22.2 because we've done 22.1 last week. So we will be doing this exercise. Okay, so some words contain a blank alif after a maftu letter, either in between or at the end of a word. Okay, so last week you did at the end of a word. Just here, the alif zaida is at the end of the word. It's zaida means excessive. So normally in the Holy Quran, it will be shown with a cross, which means this is not to be read. So they are called alif zaida, excessive alif, and usually marked with a cross, as I just said, or a sukoon. The words alif zaida are also written in the mark. So this we will read in a minute. So all these words are actually from the Holy Quran, and it says the reference here as well. Okay, so the alif zaida I will just explain again, means we don't read that alif. Just here and here, and the first column, let's carry on, move on to exercise 22.2, and then I'll explain it to you. Here we have alif zaida in the middle of a word. Just here, it's not at the end, it's in the middle, but this alif would not be read. In the Holy Quran, it will be there will be a little cross on top of this alif because it's not to be read. This first column, as we had it last week, shows you how it is written in the Holy Quran. This is exactly how it will be written in the Holy Quran in Surah Ali Imran in verse 159. But this column shows how it will be read. As here, the alif is shown here, but the alif is not to be read here. So instead of the alif, we have just exchanged it to hamza because both have the same sound. Okay, and in the pause, how it should be read in the pause. Okay, so there is no change to the alif here because it comes in between of a word, in the middle of a word, but we will be reading this, the end part with the waqf, with the pause, which we had last week as well. So I will quickly do the first column, and then we will practice it with the student, the next bit. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا إله الله لا إله الله, and in a pause it will be read La ilallah, La ilallah. Okay, so if I could have a student to the mic, please.
Yes, can I please remind our students to use your correct GID? Otherwise, you'll be placed in the waiting room. Sakallah. G1056 has the mic.
Assalamu alaikum, G1056. Assalamu alaikum. G1056.
G1002.
G1002. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. How are you today?
Good, how are you? Hello.
Alhamdulillah, I'm very well. Jazakumullah for asking. If you could move to a quieter place, that would be really great. And let's start with Dawaz and Tasmiyah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Very nice. Okay, so here in the first column, we have the alif zaida here, okay, which means we won't be reading this alif. And all the alif zaida in this exercise are colored in red. Could you read this bit?
Alpha in.
Very nice. So you did not prolong the fa for 2 seconds because we are not reading the alif. If we would be reading it, we would be prolonging it for 2 seconds. But this is an excessive alif, which means we won't be reading. We won't be actually, the first time you read it correctly, so we won't be reading this alif. You read it correctly the first time, okay? If you could read it, read this bit, please.
Alpha in.
Yes, very nice. And the same word with the waqaf, with the pause here.
Alpha in.
Very nice. So all three are the same because this already has a sukoon sign, which is already which is the same as we would be doing the waqaf. So the pause. So all these three are the same. Jazakumullah, very nicely read G1002. Allah Hafiz.
Khudafiz.
Hafiz. Okay, if we could have the next student to the mic, please.
G1003, please unmute yourself.
Assalamu alaikum, G1003.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. How are you today?
Good, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm very well, and Jazakumullah for asking. Let's start with Dawaz and Tasmiyah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Very nice. Good. And do you have an idea why this alif is colored red here?
No.
Okay, so today we are doing alif zaida, excessive alif, which means there is an alif which shouldn't be read, and this is the alif zaida. So in normal reciting, we would be prolonging the ba for 2 seconds, but we have to ignore this alif here. Just think that this alif is not there, okay? And if you see this box here, you can see that this alif has been cut out because it was an excessive alif, okay? So if you could read this word and just ignore the alif, just think the alif is not there.
Minna ba
Very nice. And now if you could repeat after me, min naba'i.
minna ba
Very nicely read. Okay, and the next word is min naba'i.
minna ba
Very nice. Both are read the same way, but they're written in a different way. It's because here we have the alif with zaida, the excessive alif, we have it here, but here in this box, it's cut out and it's joined up. The ba and the hamza here is joined up. So it's read exactly the same, just written in a different way. Okay, now read, we will read this box with the, if there would be a pause at the end. Min naba.
minna ba.
Very nicely read. Let me just quickly repeat this bit and this bit again, okay? And you can follow me. Min naba'i.
Minna ba
Very nice. And with the pause, min naba.
minna ba.
Very nicely read. Jazakumullah G1 003. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.
Okay, if we could have the next student to the mic, please.
G1 004 has the mic.
Assalamu alaikum G1 003.
Assalamualaikum.
There is a lot of background noise. If you could move to a different room, because I think there are more than one devices in the same room.
Okay.
Jazakumullah. Okay, so how are you today, G1 004?
I'm okay. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm very well, and Jazakumullah for asking. So, do you know why this alif is colored red here?
Jisu alif zaida.
Exactly, that means. Do you know what that means then?
उसका मतलब जो उससे पहले उसको लंबा करना है.
It means that you're correct that we have to do something here, but what we have to do is you have to just ignore this alif. You shouldn't be reading this alif, so you won't be prolonging it for 2 seconds. The lam, you won't be prolonging it for 2 seconds. So just ignore the alif here. Okay, let's start with Tawz and Tasmiya, and then you can see how we would read it without the alif. Okay.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. और जज़ाकल्लाह आपने मुझे चूज किया था.
Jazakumullah. Okay, so I will read and then you can follow me. Okay. Wala awda'u.
Wow, ووضعوا.
Okay, so this will be prolonged for 2 seconds, right? Because there is a waw and on top of it there is a sukoon. Okay, so the previous letter will be prolonged for 2 seconds. All right, so here I did not read the lam, prolong the lam for 2 seconds because the alif is zaida alif. Okay, and we will just be ignoring it. We're just reading the la for 1 second, la. Okay, now here it's the same word, will be read the same way, just the alif is gone. Okay, wala awda'u.
ووضعوا.
Wala awda'u.
وضعوا.
Very nicely read. Just remember that this is a Hamza. I know it looks like an Ain, and naturally you would read it from your throat, but read this Hamza just like an Alif, okay? Because Alif and Hamza have the same sounds, okay? But this Ain here, you can read as O from your throat, okay? Wala awda'u. That was very nice, and I could see the the difference between the Hamza and the Ain. Very nicely read. And now let's read this with the waqf. There won't be any difference because this is already if you would do the waqf here, the pause here, it would be read just exactly the same as it is. Okay. Wala awda'u. Okay, very nicely read. Jazakumullah G1 004. Allah Hafiz.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's have the next student to the mic for this row.
G1006 has the mic.
Assalamu alaikum G1006.
Assalamualaikum.
How are you today?
Bertie got Arcasia.
Alhamdulillah, I'm very well, and Jazakumullah for asking. Do you know what Alif Zaida is?
I just, is it an Alif?
It's an Alif, yeah. Excessive Alif, it's called in English.
Oh.
Which means basically that the Alif should be ignored. Okay, it should not be read. Just here in this exercise, all the Alif Zaidas are colored in red, so it's easy to spot them. Here we had the Alif Zaida, and here we have the Alif Zaida, and basically what we do is very easy. You just ignore that Alif. Okay, and in the first box, the Alif Zaida is written, but we shouldn't be reading it. But in the second box, the word is written without the Alif Zaida, the excessive Alif. Okay, so I will be reading, and you can follow me. Let's start with Tawz and Tasmiyah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Very nice. Malaihim.
Malaihim.
Very nice. So you can see that I did not prolong the lam for 2 seconds. Although there is an alif, it means that this alif is excessive. So we're not reading it. Normally in the Holy Quran, there will be an X, a cross here on top of that alif, which means just ignore that alif. Just read the lam as there would be no alif. Malaihim.
Malaihim.
And here in this box, there is no alif. So the word will be pronounced the same as we did here. Malaihim.
Malaihim.
Very nice. And even with waqf, with the pause at the end of the word, it will be pronounced the same as it is. Malaihim.
Malaihim.
Very nice. Malaihim.
Malaihim.
Very nicely read, and I hope that all the students at home are following us as well. So try to read them after me as well, all the words. Jazakumullah G1006. Allah Hafiz.
Hafiz.
Hafiz. Okay, if we could have another student to the mic for the next row here.
G1009 has the mic.
Assalamu alaikum G1009.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. How are you today?
I'm fine. How are you?
Alhamdulillah. I'm very well. Jazakumullah for asking. Now, could you tell me why this alif is colored in red here?
Because it has to be for 2 seconds.
Okay. Usually, there would be an alif. The letter before would be read for would be prolonged for 2 seconds. But today, because we're doing alif zaida, which means excessive alif, it means that the alif which is colored in red should not be read at all. Okay, so the letter before would not be prolonged at all. Okay, so just over here we had this alif, and the letter before we did not prolong it because this alif was an alif zaida, okay, an excessive alif, which means we should just ignore it. We shouldn't prolong the letter before, or we should just not, read it. And in the Holy Quran, as I said before, there should be an X marking just on top of it. Okay, so let me read it and you can follow. Let's start with Thousand Tasmiyah first.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Very nice. لشيء.
لشيء.
Very nice. And in this box, the alif is just disappeared, and the word is written exactly the same, just without the alif, and it will be read exactly the same as here. لشيء.
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 Very nice. And now here, if we would do a pause at the end of this word would be a bit different. Okay, the end letter would have a sukoon sign because we're pausing, we're stopping. Okay, li shay. Okay, let me hear the hamza sound, the jerking sound, for a little bit at the end. Okay, li shay. Very nice. So I could hear the jerk at the end just a little bit. That was very nicely read. Jazakumullah G1009.
Jazakumullah. Allah Hafiz.
Hafiz. Okay, if we could have the next student with the mic, please.
G1011.
Assalamu alaikum, G1011.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. How are you today?
Okay, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm very well, and Jazakumullah for asking. Okay, so let me just quickly ask you. This is an alif zaida, an excessive alif, yeah? And what would we do with an excessive alif?
We don't need it.
We don't read it. Very nice. That was very true. And we will just ignore it. We won't prolong the lam for 2 seconds. That was very nicely said. And let's start with Thousand Tasmiyah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Very nice. Okay, if you could just follow me now. لأذبحنه.
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 Let's split it up. It is a bigger word. لأذبحنه. Very nicely read. Okay, now here that alif zaida is gone. Okay, and this alif has been put in place of this alif. Okay, it will be read exactly the same, just that the alif zaida is gone, and we don't need to worry about not reading it. Okay, la azbahannahu.
لأذبحنه.
Very nicely read. Okay, now here, this box is where we would pause it. At the end of the word, we would like to pause.
لأذبحنه. لأذبحنه.
Yes, very nice. So if you pause it, there would be a sukoon sign on top of the ha instead of the vertical dhamma. Okay, So we would read it La azbahanna.
لأذبحن
Very nice. La azbahanna.
لأذبحن.
Very nicely read. G1011. Jazakumullah and Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz. Okay, so I hope that you are all pronouncing those words after me at home, even if you're not being called.
Okay.
And,
Yeah.
Jazakumullah. And if I could have the next student to the mic for this exercise, please.
G1012.
Assalamu alaikum. G1012.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm very well, and Jazakumullah for asking. Now, could you tell me a bit about the Alif Zaida, and it is colored in red here?
Because we can't pronounce it to 2 seconds.
Exactly. So, it is there, but we won't be reading it. We will be ignoring it. Very nicely said. And let's start with 1000 Tasmiyah before we can start reading it.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim.
Very nicely read. Okay. La ilal jahimi.
La ilal jahimi.
Very nice. And again here, the alif has disappeared. It's to help us read this word, and it will be pronounced exactly the same as we did just here. La ilal jahimi.
La ilal jahimi.
Very nice. Very nicely read. And now here, we will do the waqaf at the end. And the rule is, whenever there is a fatha kasra zamma at the end of the word, and we would just put a sukoon sign on top of it. Okay, so la ilal jahim.
La ilal jahim.
Very nice. La ilal jahim.
La ilal
Him. Okay, let me just quickly go through this rule again. The rule of pausing. Whenever we need to stop at the end of a word and the last letter has a fatha kasra or zamma, then we would just think that there is a sukoon on top of it. Just here it had a kasra. Okay, and because we want to stop, it means we will just put a sukoon here. Okay, and for stopping it. Jazakumullah, that was very nicely read. G1012. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz. Okay, and if we could have the next student to the mic, please.
You need to practice. You are very slow now.
G1013.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam, G1013. How are you today?
Okay. How are you?
I'm very well, alhamdulillah. Jazakumullah for asking. Okay. So what do you know about the Alif Zaida?
You don't read them.
We don't read them. Here we have the Alif Zaida. It should just be the Alif which should be in red, but the Lam has been colored in red as well. So just ignore the Lam in red. So the Alif Zaida here is this Alif. Okay. Let's start with 1000 Tasmiyah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Very nice. Bi'salismu.
Bisalismu.
Yes. Bi'salismu.
Bisalismu.
Okay. Could I hear a little jerk for the Hamza Sakin here? Remember? Bi. That's it.
Bisalismu.
That. And now here, the Zaida Alif has disappeared, but we would read this word exactly the same as this word. Okay. Bi'salismu.
Bisalismu.
Very nice. So remember, on the Hamza Sakin, we should be doing a soft jerk. Okay. So this rule is the Alif Sakin and the Hamza Sakin. Okay. Whenever the Sakoon on the Hamza or the Alif, we should be doing a soft jerk. Bi'salismu.
Bisalismu.
Okay. Very nice. Now, this box is where we want to do the stop, the pause. Okay, the waqf. And just here, we know that at the end there is a meme, and the meme carries a dhamma. Now, the rule was for fatha, kasra, and zamma that if we want to stop the last word, if it carries a fatha, kasra, and zamma, we would just put a sukoon sign, just like here, as we did it here. Okay, so we would read it. Bi'salism.
Bisalismu.
That's it. Bi'salism.
Bisalismu.
Okay, let me hear the soft jerk again.
Bisalismu.
Bi'salism.
Bisalismu.
That's it. I could hear it now. That was very nicely read. G1013. Jazakumullah and Allah Hafiz.
Tafish. Jazakallah.
Jazakallah. Okay. Let's carry on to the next row, and if I could have the next row.
G1014.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. How are you today, G1014?
Okay, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm very well, and Jazakumullah for asking. Now, could you tell me about this red alif here? What does it mean?
We don't need to read it.
We won't be reading it exactly. And in the Quran, in the Holy Quran, this alif would have a cross on top of it to show us that this is an alif zaida. Here we don't have it. It is just colored in red for us to spot it. But in the Holy Quran, whenever we see an alif with a cross or an X, we would just straight be thinking that this is an alif zaida, and we won't be reading. Okay. So let's start with Thousand Tasmiya, and then we can start.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Very nice. La antum. Very nice. Okay, and here the alif zaida has disappeared. We would be reading this word exactly the same as we did here. Okay, la antum. La antum. Very nice. And this box should be doing the pause, the waqf. But because the last letter already has a waqf, we don't need to do anything. We would just be reading it as the same as we did just here. La antum. Very nice. So just to remind you, this box shows where this word is in the Holy Quran. So this says Surah Al-Hashr, which is the 59th chapter, and the verse is 14. Okay, so all these words are actually taken from the Holy Quran, and this is the reference meaning that where it appears in the Holy Quran. Okay. Jazakumullah G1013. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz. Okay, so if I could have the next student to the mic, please.
G1007.
Assalamu alaikum, G1007. G1007. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm very well. Jazakumullah for asking. Now, just quick question. What is this red colored alif here?
Alif.
Yes, it is an alif. Do you know what's so special about it? Why have we colored it red? I'll give you two options. We won't be reading it or we will be reading it. Can you hear me? G1007?
Hello.
Hello, okay, you can hear me. Okay, so this alif is an alif zaida and it means an excessive alif and we won't be reading it. Okay, so in this case, with the jim, we will just straight be joining it to the ya sakin. Okay, let's start with Tawz and Tasniya and then we can start reading this word.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Very nice. So, waji'a.
وجيء.
Very nice. Okay, so remember this jim is joined to the ya here, and the ya also carries a mad kabir, which means this mad is to be read for 4 to 6 seconds. Okay, so that's why we have prolonged this bit for about 4 to 6 seconds. Okay.
Excuse me.
Yes.
I got a question for you.
Go on.
Why we need to do it long when a red color word comes?
Could you just repeat your question, please?
Why do we need to long the letter when
Yeah, when there is an alif, or is it when there is a mad here?
yeah.
Okay, so whenever there is a mad, we had this lesson last week, Monday, about mad saghir and mad kabir. Okay, so whenever there is a mad, this is a mad kabir, which means the extra long stroke. Okay, so whenever this appears on top of a letter, it should be prolonged for 4 to 6 seconds. Okay, and if there is a mad kabir, let me see if I can show you a mad kabir, mad saghir here, sorry, then that would be for 2 to 4 seconds, prolonged for 2 to 4 seconds. I can't spot a mad kabir here just now, but it's just not as bold as this one, and it's a medium long stroke. Okay, so whenever you see this, it means 4 to 6. You have to just make it a bit extra long. All right, that's why we did this a bit extra long. I'll just read it out again. Waji'a.
Waji'a.
Very nice. Now here the alif zaida has disappeared. Okay, but we would be just reading this this word exactly the same as we did here, because we did just ignore the alif here as well. Okay, waji'a.
Waji'a.
Very nice. Now this box here, we would be doing a waqf. Okay, meaning we would be pausing it. So
is it called jasm?
Sorry?
Is it called jasm?
Jasm, yeah. Yes. So a sukoon or a jazm, you can call it a jazm or a sukoon. Okay. So whenever pausing, we should be looking at the last letter. Okay. And there are different rules about the pausing. Okay. So this here we have the hamza with the fatha, and any letter with the fatha kasra zamma. And if we need to pause it there, then we would just replace the fatha with the jazm here, or the sakoon here, the sakoon sign. Okay, so here we replace the fatha for the sakoon sign here, because we will be pausing here. Waji.
Waji.
Okay, remember, whenever there is a hamza sakin, means there is a sukoon on top of a hamza, we would be doing reading out with a soft jerk. Okay, so when ending the word, try to do a soft jerk. Okay, waji.
Waji.
Okay, try to do the at the end. Okay, the jerk. Waji.
Waji.
That's it. I could hear the jerk now, and we have just to remember the rule about the hamza or the alif sakin, that there should be a soft jerk. That was very nicely read, G1007. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.
See you again.
Inshallah. Okay, so let's carry on to the next row here. And if I could have the next student to the mic, please.
G1015.
Assalamu alaikum, G1015. Assalamu alaikum, G1015.
How are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm very well, and Jazakumullah for asking. Now, let me quickly ask you a question. Do you know what we do with the alif zaida here?
Yeah.
Okay, what is it?
It's a la.
La. So you're right. We won't be prolonging it for 2 seconds. We would be just reading it la. Very nice. Okay, let's start with thousand tasniya.
Me. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Very nice. Okay, now if you could follow me. Malaihi.
Malaihi.
Very nice. Malaihi.
Malaihi.
Okay, and here the alif zaida, the excessive alif, has disappeared because we're not reading it anyways. So we would be reading this word though exactly as the same we did just now. Malaihi.
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 Okay, so this last box here, we will try to do a waqf. So when doing a waqf, we normally look at the last letter here. So the ha, it carries a vertical kasra. Now with the vertical kasra and with kasra, fatha kasra zamma, we would put a sukoon on top if we want to do the waqf, the pause. Okay, so this vertical kasra would be replaced with a sukoon just here. The vertical kasra has disappeared, but instead we have a sukoon here, a sukoon sign. Okay, a sakin, it's ha sakin. Now let me read it for you, and then you can follow me. Malai.
Malai.
That's it. Malai.
Malai.
Very nicely read. Jazakumullah G1015. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.
Okay, let's move on to the next row. And if I could have the next student to the mic, please.
G1016.
Assalamu alaikum, G1016.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. How are you today?
Good, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm very well, and Jazakumullah for asking. Okay, so the same question for you. What would we do with this alif, the red colored alif?
Would we make the letter in front longer?
Normally we would, but this is an excessive alif, which means you would just ignore this alif. So with ignoring it, we won't be doing the letter before the previous letter longer. We would just be reading it normally. Okay, so we would just ignore this alif, not be reading it. Okay, let's start with thousand tasniya, and then I can show you how it pronounced.
Okay.
Okay, could you read out thousand tasniya, please?
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Very nice. So note, I won't be prolonging the meme for 2 seconds because I'm just ignoring this alif here. Mi'atun.
مئة.
Okay, so I haven't prolonged it for 2 seconds. Okay, mi'atun.
مئة.
Okay, very nice. Now here the alif has disappeared, but we still will be reading this the same way as we did here. Mi'atun.
مئة.
Very nice. Mi'atun.
مئة.
Okay, now here in this box, we will be reading this word, but with a pause. So the pause means we have to look at the end of the word, the last letter here, it has a dhammatain. Okay, so same rule with the fatha kasra zamma. We will be replacing these with a sakoon sign. Okay, now because this is a ta al marbuta, okay, when doing a waqf, we would not read it as a ta, we would just read it as a ha. Okay, so it's a ha with 2 dots, but it will just be a ha when doing a waqf. Okay, let me read it out and it will be clear. Mi'ah.
مئة.
Mi'ah.
مئة.
Very nice. Jazakumullah G1016. Allah Hafiz.
الله حافظ.
Okay, now if we could have the next student to the mic, please, for this row.
G1017.
Assalamu alaikum G1017. G1017. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. How are you today?
I'm okay, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm very well, and Jazakumullah for asking. Okay, again for you the same question. There is an excessive alif here. What would we be doing?
We would ignore the alif sider.
That's it. Well done. That was described very exactly. Okay, let's start with thousand tasniya and we can start reading it.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Very nice. Okay, if you could follow me now. Mi'ataini.
مئتين.
Mi'ataini.
مئتين.
That's it. Over here in this box, the alif has disappeared, but we are reading this word, exactly the same word, the same way as we just did, because we did not read the alif anyway, so it doesn't make a difference. Mi'ataini.
مئتين.
Mi'ataini.
مئتين.
Very nice. Okay, so in the last box here, as we have been doing, we would do the waqf at the end, just here, at the end of this word. And again, looking at the last letter, this letter carries a kasra. So the rule says we should be putting a sukoon sign on top of the noon. And it's done here. So the kasra becomes a sukoon sign. Okay. Mi'atain.
Mi'atain.
Very nice. Mi'atain.
Mi'atain.
Jazakumullah. Very nicely read, G1014. Allah Hafiz.
Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz. Okay, so let's go back to the top of this exercise and carry on with the next student, please.
G1018.
Assalamu alaikum, G1018. G1018. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum assalam. How are you today?
Good.
Alhamdulillah. If you could move to a quieter place, please.
Yes.
Great. So here again, we have a red colored alif. And what do you know? What would we be doing with this alif?
Don't read it.
We don't read it. Well done. Okay. Let's start with thousand tasmiya and then we can start reading.
Allahumma Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
A'udhu billah.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim.
Bismillah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Very nice. Okay, if you could follow me. La ilallahi.
La ilallahi.
La ilallahi.
La ilallahi.
Very nice. And here, this red colored alif, which is an alif zaida, an excessive alif, has disappeared. So it doesn't make a difference because we weren't reading it here anyways. So this word here is exactly the same as this, just written in a different way, and it will be pronounced in the same way though. La ilallahi.
La ilallahi.
Very nice. And here we will try to pause it. And with the pausing, we will be looking at the last letter here, and it has a kasra, and the rule says that we will be putting a sukoon sign just like here. Okay, and then reading it. La ilallah.
La ilallah.
Very nice. La ilallah.
La ilallah.
Very nice. Jazakumullah G1018. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz and thank you.
Jazakumullah. Okay, so if we could have one more row.
Say thank you.
Help, please. Jazakumullah. Okay, if you could just have one more student for today.
G1019.
Assalamu alaikum, G1019. G1019. Assalamu alaikum.
G1021.
Assalamu alaikum. Assalam.
Walaikum salam. G1021. How are you today?
मैं ठीक हूँ आप कैसी हैं?
Alhamdulillah, I'm very well, and Jazakumullah for asking. Let's start with thousand tasmiya, and then we can start reading.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Very nice. So we have an alif zaida, an excessive alif here, so we won't be reading it. Okay. Afa in.
أفإن
Afa in.
Afa'in.
Okay, and in this box, the same word is written just without the alif, and it will be pronounced the same. Afa'in.
Afa'in.
And again here, when pausing it, the last letter already has a sukoon sign, so there would be no difference. Afa'in.
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 Well done. Jazakumullah G1021. That was very nicely read. Allah Hafiz.
Lafis.
Hafiz. Okay, so I would quickly like to summarize today's lesson. Okay, so we did alif zaida today, which means excessive alif, a blank alif, which means in the Holy Quran, it should have a sign on top of it. Okay, just like this. It should be on top of an alif, just on top of here. Okay, and that's how you would recognize it. That would mean that you shouldn't be you shouldn't pronounce the alif. You shouldn't read it at all. Just ignore the alif. Okay, and yeah, basically it could come at the end of a word, just like here, or it could come in the middle of a word, just like in this example, in example 22.2. So the example 22.1 has all the alif zaidas at the end of a word, and the example, the exercise 22.2 has all the alif zaidas in the middle of a word. Okay, so the homework for you today will be the exercise we did today, and just try to practice that, and it will be about alif zaida, and it's in page 89. Okay, practice today's exercise and you should be getting used to it. It shouldn't be a problem after you've done that. That's great, and let's move on to our ending prayer for today, and if I could have a student to the mic now.
G1029.
Assalamu alaikum G1029.
Walaikum assalam.
How are you today?
Good. Alhamdulillah. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm very well, and Jazakumullah for asking. Let's start with Dawud and Tasmiyah, and you can start reading the dua. A'udhu billahi
A'udhu billahi
minash shaitan
minash shaitan
nirrajim.
rajim.
Bismillah
Bismillah
Rahman
Rahman
Rahim.
Rahim.
Allahumma
Allahumma
hamni
hamni
Bil-Qur'an
Bil-Qur'an
azim.
azim.
Very nice, right? And do you think you can read the translation here?
O Allah, have mercy on me through the Quran the Great.
Very nice. Jazakumullah. Allah Hafiz. G1021.
Hafiz.
And this brings us to the end of our today's class. Jazakumullah for attending.